T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Wiretap, and I am joined by the Saurus. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. No problem. Thank you for having me.
So obviously we've got your Apex battle coming up.
We do. Leaving probably 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks from tomorrow or something like that. I know I'll be leaving shortly.
Awesome. Okay. So, I mean, you've done it all, obviously, but how do you stay motivated to keep battling?
I mean, I've always been like an extremely competitive person, so I have that competitive drive in me regardless. And the further that the scene continues to just grow and develop, I'm 20 years invested, and I still feel like I can compete, and I don't want to hang it up just yet. But I know that in order to stay active, I have to keep improving and adapting and whatnot. So it's really just about like competing with myself more than anything. My goal is usually, especially even when I'm going somewhere that I've been before, but when I'm going somewhere new, especially, I want to make it like, I know everywhere that I go to perform in battle, there's going to be a minimum of one, usually more, like comfortably more, people who are seeing me live for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is always to make sure that it's not the last time that they want to see me live. I want to make sure that they leave thinking, I want to see that again, or I want to see him versus this person on a different card, things like that. I don't ever want people to like leave an event writing me off like, well, I got to see that, and now that that's that.
Yeah.
I would much rather leave like a memorable impression that has people wanting to come back and see me again, pretty much.
Awesome. I mean, I'm sure you will. You have done so far. I don't see that changing.
Yeah, I've been trying my best. I definitely have put in a lot of work.
Well, speaking of, you said that you've, sort of been in it now for 20 years. What was your first ever battle, and who was it against? Do you remember?
Wow. First, like, actual battle I ever did was definitely just some shit in high school. Like, there's no way it was ever filmed. It was like just among friends who I used to like freestyle with growing up. My first battle on camera was like 2002, maybe 2003. I think 2002. It was at the community college that I went to against a guy named El Greco, and it was like a typical tournament freestyle battle thing, like whatever, 32 people, the winner gets some sort of prize, and I ended up winning the whole thing. That was one of the first, or I think that's the first like organized battle footage that I actually have, though. I'm pretty sure there was some other like small low-key stuff in the California area, but I don't think I started really branching out until I like kind of like wiped my hometown out first, and then realized it's a pretty small town, so it was sort of fish out of water is kind of how I felt. Like I felt like I needed a bigger ocean to conquer, so started going to stuff in the Bay Area, the San Francisco and Oakland area, San Jose, where there's just like higher concentration of people in general, which means the scene is going to be bigger and talent is going to be a little less few and far between. There's, and it's where I met everybody that I sort of learned how to sharpen my sword with, so to speak. So many of the Bay Area OGs who are still like going strong today. It's crazy.
Amazing. So like you say, you went out and you were conquering sort of bigger oceans. Last time you were here in the UK battling a UK opponent was at the 4th birthday against Matter.
Yeah, a long time ago. That's
Um,
crazy. That's the last
that's a
UK
long
battle.
time
I mean,
ago.
I know I battled 100 Bullets out there since, but
Yep, at Verdict
that's
afterwards. Yeah,
crazy. That's wow. That's 10 years ago. Then that's nuts.
very long time ago. So
Wow.
how does like the crowd and experience differ for you than say a US crowd or a typical US crowd?
Oh, I love the UK crowd. The hunger and passion from the UK crowd is like noticeably at a higher level than your typical American crowds,
Mm-hmm.
barring maybe like a few of the major US events that happen. I mean, over here, obviously things are like a little bit more watered down. You have far more people putting out like events and content and whatnot.
Yeah.
And growing up in California and in the Bay Area, and then even like moving, I lived in LA briefly before I moved to Vegas. And those are areas where there was a time, but not when I started getting into it, it like being a rapper wasn't as unique of a skill set or a thing to be in
Mm-hmm.
these areas as I think it is overseas. Um, like overseas in general and outside of cities like LA, Oakland, New York, Chicago, outside of like the main hubs, I think it's a bit like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like every time I've come to the UK, like the passion and more so like the appreciation that the internationals are there, that we've made the trip to come over and like show love to everybody on the other side of the pond, which is so vital to like the growth of the culture to begin with. And I mean, I don't think that they realize I'm like so much more appreciative to be there than
Right.
they are having me. So it's a two-way street. Like I love being anywhere that battle rap has brought me. I'm so happy that it's brought me there because it just like when I get to take a second and like reflect on things, it's pretty crazy to think about all of the places that this giant dysfunctional family of ours has brought me over the past couple of decades. So I really try to soak it in. Not I don't do it as often as I can because I'm constantly grinding at a million miles an hour in life
Yeah.
in general. But I mean, it really is just something to like look at, like stand back at, or stand back from and like look at and be proud of. I think your guys' scene, the UK scene, is so hungry, passionate. There isn't an overabundant, especially like since the sort of dissolvement of Don't Flop, when content at least out there was probably at its peak. There was
Yeah.
the most stuff coming out. Since then, it feels like there's almost like a resurgence of that want and need for like fresh content coming in, not only locally but from overseas and from outside cities as well, you know.
Absolutely. Do you prepare differently? Like, do you
No,
change
my
how you do things?
preparation process is usually pretty much the same for
Okay.
whoever I battle. I take setting into mind, but I'm never just like specifically catering to a crowd. I'll try like I try to be like regionally aware for sure. I definitely I know what sort of like things to pepper into whatever environment I'm in to maybe get
Right.
more of like a local pop, but
Yeah.
like it's never in the forefront of my thought process of like, oh, well, I need to talk about this and this since I'm going here. It's like, well, if I can find an effective and creative way to address those things, then I'm
Mm.
gonna do it for sure. But I'm never gonna like I never want to compromise or like sacrifice being who I've always been for the sake of what might be like in the moment, you know, a quick like cheap pop.
Sure. Did that factor in when you, 'cause obviously we mentioned that you battled 100 bullets.
Yeah.
Um, did any of that sort of factor in? Because obviously it's more so the crowd, it sounds like if you do add in bits, it's usually for the crowd. Did
Oh
you
yeah,
find
for sure.
yourself doing
Like
that
that's
at
why he
Verdict?
did like the whole like
Yeah.
football scheme and stuff
Temper
like that.
tea and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like that stuff is super effective, and
Mm.
I don't knock anybody who does it effectively. It works. I mean, case in point was bullets, you know, especially like that round against me.
Yeah.
Even somehow the Pokemon stuff worked, which was surprising to me. Like I would think that would pop more in like certain regions of the States, but
Mm.
that's probably more of an age thing than like a regional thing, you know, just people who grew up on the content and whatnot. But yeah, like his football scheme, that's like a very deliberate choice.
Absolutely.
And he did it as effectively, I think, as like pretty much can be done. So
Mm.
I can't knock it. It's not, I don't know if I could ever see myself committing that hard to doing it, but I could incorporate things like that while still staying like entirely true to self, you know?
Nice. Okay. Well, Apex will be taking place in Manchester.
Yeah, my
Have
first
you been
time.
to the city of Manchester?
I haven't. It'll be my
No.
first time. I've only ever been to London, so I am
Okay.
really looking forward to it.
Well, the accents are funny, but you'll get used to it.
It's a
I
little.
live up
Oh
here
yeah,
now.
I'm used to a Manny accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just in general with the UK scene, so obviously I know that you tend to keep up to date with this kind of stuff. Have you been in tune with some of like the newer guys, and are there any that sort of stand out to you so far?
Not as much. I've heard a few names, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
as into like Bizzo is one of the newer guys who has been recently like sort of put on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
Frost, I would say, is another one.
Yeah, Frost.
That's definitely. I'm. Other than that, there's so many battlers in general,
It's
and
true.
so much content constantly coming out in general. I feel like there's like probably like a set dozen battlers that I make sure to check out anything new of theirs when it comes
Mm.
out. And then other than that, I'm not really like actively searching for new stuff unless somebody puts me onto it, or unless I'm like in a sort of like a funk looking for inspiration writing wise. And then I'll make a post and just be like, hey, I'm sort of out of the loop currently. What are some dope recent battles that have come out? Like put me up on game, you know? So
Right.
battle fans are great about doing that. Like I appreciate it so much that we have so many fans who are so like in tune to the minute with the culture that they can put me up on newer names, like, you know, as I need to be more aware of them, basically.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bizzo Bond, he's obviously going to be your opponent at Apex 4.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll just take a quick break here just to say, if you don't have a ticket and you're watching this, what are you doing? Premierbattles.club. Get your ticket now.
Agreed.
What do you think of Bizzo Bond as a battler? What are your thoughts on him?
He's dope. He's getting better every battle from what I've watched so far. Like just in like going back over his battles, he's getting more comfortable battle by battle. My first ever Bizzo Bond battle, like seeing Bizzo battle, was seeing him battle Real Deal in person, because
Okay.
they were in Vegas for that. So I
Yeah.
came through to the event to support, and that was my first time meeting him and first time seeing him battle live. And it was so solid of a performance overall that even without knowing that we would be battling in the future, it made me want to check out other stuff that he had done. So he really made a strong introductory impression, especially against a certified legend. You know, it was
Absolutely.
and like a really good homie of mine over 15 plus years now or something like that, who's
Mhm.
out there with me, my dog Real Deal. um it's Bizzo, he approached that battle really well. So it made me when I see stuff like that, especially like a very concise, well thought, like 3 round performance, that interests me to see more of their other battles, because I'm sort of curious like how their mind works. Like, you know, it becomes sort of like a chess match kind of thing.
Well, I'm curious how your mind works. What's the writing process been like for this, for Bizzo?
My writing process is probably different than anybody in battling. It's
Okay.
very, I'm usually writing up until the last night's sleep that I get before the battle itself.
Wow.
So there's
Okay.
a chance that by the time I would ideally, especially with the travel for this, I would like to be finished writing exactly 2 weeks from today. because then I know worst case scenario, like 2 weeks from today, I'll either be getting on a plane or getting on a plane the next day to come out. So I would just to avoid having to like run my material endlessly on the flight, so I can relax on the plane, land and relax. My goal is to be completely finished 2 weeks from today. So far right now, it's really just more loose, like sort of scattered ideas, concepts, not even really like fully formulated lines and punchlines. I do a lot of just like idea jotting and sort of just general stuff. And then from that point, I try to sort of group everything into categories that are going to either work together seamlessly concept wise or aesthetically, like if they're going to sound really good consecutively, because obviously my writing style is like kind of technical and it's almost like a math formula, like the way that I write. So it's a lot of puzzle building is basically what it is, like trying to find the right connector pieces to go from section to section, whether it's like 8 bar, 16, whatever it is, you know. It's I have a very, very unique process.
All right. Well, I just want to show you something real quick that
Cool.
Bizzo tweeted the other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good mentality to have. That's a hard thing to do, but it's a good mentality to have. Nobody's actually done it. So it's a good mentality to have, being the first person to do something that nobody's done in 200 battles or however many I have. I think that's the right way to approach it, for sure. I feel like I have a similar mindset. It's definitely like, ideally I would like to come over there and not allow the in-house champ to win a round. I know it's not entirely like the most realistic thing, but it's not impossible. If I have 3 rounds that are say I have 3 rounds that are like on par with what my first round for Matter was, I like my chances, no matter the setting or, you know, any variables, completely, including any of the possible variables. I like my chances if I can bring out 3 rounds at that level. That's like definitely the goal of mine. Really, I just want to, you know, have a classic that at the end of the day, people are going to say that I won. But more importantly, a battle that people are going to find to be worth rewatching over and over, as opposed to feeling like they caught everything on one watch, which I don't really think you can ever do of most battles to begin with. But
certainly not
some battles feel like a chore to rewatch, you know? And I like to not have battles like that. I don't think I have any that are like that.
No, I think it's safe to say you've managed to avoid having those. All your battles are definitely constant, rewatchable classics. So
I appreciate it.
I'm very excited. This will be my first time seeing you guys, or seeing you live.
Let's go.
So I'm very, very excited for this. So obviously you mentioned, you're kind of a late prepper in terms of how other people write. Bizzo, notoriously a very, very early prepper. Do you have any like tricks to remember stuff? Because obviously, if you're writing last minute, do you have
I have a pretty absurd memory to begin with. Like, very absurd, I guess, if I'm being realistic. I could, like, if I wanted to, if I had to, I could write 3 rounds in a day and be ready to perform them the next day, if I had to. I don't like having to. I try to avoid it, which can be a gift and a curse, because there's often times where I like will put off preparing until far later than I should, just because I know that what my memory is capable of. Exactly. That's not the mindset that I try to ever have. Sometimes it just happens. It's something I really try to avoid. But as far as tricks, it's all about the transitions, like the segues from bar to bar. As writers, we know the punchline. We know the meaty part of the line that people are going to react to. Usually it's post-reaction that someone gets thrown off going into their next line, which is often because they're not transitioning the right way. It's either punchline and then it's jump to a completely different topic, rhyme scheme, train of thought that just isn't a natural segue for your brain to make the connection from line to line. So I really try to either finish the thought completely, even if the punchline has already been said, so that my segue is going off of that thought. Or the simple way to do it is just extend the rhyme scheme by an extra stanza, like whatever the punchline ends on, start the next line with that same rhyme scheme to follow into the next transition is really the easiest way to do it. But I mean, it's like memory is something, it's really hard to teach. Some people struggle with it. Some people need multiple weeks of preparation to be as concise as they want to be. Nestle, who's one of the like most intricate and like fluent writers in battle history, he needs weeks to memorize, which to me is crazy because his style is so like aesthetically pleasing and smooth. It all flows together so smooth that to me, like, I could listen to him rehearsing a verse and memorize it quicker than he could memorize his own work himself, just because he has his memory just works differently than I do, you know. But like, to me, his writing style is like the most memory friendly because of how fluent it is. There's no choppy spots of going, like, there's no dramatic shift from a word to, like, from a rhyme scheme to the next. It all flows to, it's all like water, you know, it just flows together so naturally. But some like Ilmac, he needs an extra week or two to prepare to be as on point as he wants to be. It's I was really just lucky to be given this like borderline photographic. It helps.
Well, like
it
you said, a
really helps.
blessing and a curse, because now you know you can do that. It's harder to motivate yourself to prep earlier, like you.
Absolutely. And so I really have to like I really try to find the motivation when I know that it's time to actually like sit and prepare. But I also know, like, because I start a few weeks out before the battle, but like I said, like early on, it's just a lot of like loose ideas. So I'm not really like sitting and forcing myself like, you need to come up with this now, brain. I function well under deadline pressure, but it still has to sort of like be created organically. It can't just, you can't really force the magic. You have to let ideas sort of become themselves, you know.
That's a great advice. Great advice, I think. So what's another battle you're looking forward to the most that's happening at Apex? We've got a couple of returns. So we've got
I'm real excited.
O'Shea's.
Bobby and Fate, I'm real excited about.
Yeah.
Bobby's my guy. So is Fate. I'm a big fan of Fate, who's a newer like addition to the scene.
Yeah.
To a degree, he's like, people have really started to be put on notice about him over the last maybe year and a half or so. The first I saw Fate was when I battled Ronnie a few years back for King of the Dot at an event like in my hometown, and Fate was on the card. And I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? Why have I not heard of him before today? And like, who can I call to put more people on notice? So immediately, like after the event, I hit Organic, I hit Lush, I hit a few other people and just said, hey, there's this dude who really stood out on the card. I think I have like a pretty keen eye for who's going to be good at this stuff.
Yeah.
And he stood out to me on that card as someone I had never seen before. And then when he made it onto season 1, I was very happy to see that. Now he's getting his first like real international trip. I'm hyped on that. So I'm hyped for guys like him, Op, who's another dude getting his first, Appa, who's getting his first like international look. Pathogenic, very excited for him, especially after like the accident that he had. Like, this Crazy. Guy, not only was he's probably Canada's best up and comer, and I mean that might even be understating it. He's really fucking good. And before the accident, the trajectory for him was looking crazy, and for him to have like miraculously recovered so quickly and to like now seemingly be back like right where he was is so impressive to me. I'm so fucking happy that he's getting the opportunity to go overseas and show people what's really good. Cause those are the people I think I'm like the most excited for. As everyone on the card, especially like every North American on the card who's never been to the UK, very excited for, and everyone on the card in general who has like never battled on a card like this, very excited for. It's a big thing, you know, it
Yeah,
really is.
absolutely.
And I hope that they really like soak in the moment and enjoy it as much as they should. Don't let them don't like let thoughts of what if about the performance like preoccupy too much. Soak in the moment, like be, you know, realize where this like early on what was a hobby has taken us now.
Right.
It's really fucking cool, you know. So though I think those are the ones that I'm the most excited for. And I feel like those guys, the guys that I mentioned, because it's their first trip and because it's such a big trip for them, like we're gonna get the absolute best out of them or somewhere around that level, you know, or at least that's what I expect. And I know Fate, like I saw Fate, we were on the same card for the GTX just a couple of weeks ago in LA. So we were talking about the trip and I definitely let him know like, yo, I know you're already aware of how good Bobby is and like what his presence is like, but just this isn't not one to slack on whatsoever.
Yeah.
He knows he's very aware. It's a really interesting matchup for both of them because Bobby's like such a high energy, like so he's such a presence of his own, and then Fate is like more regarded as a pen. And it's I think they're really going to push each other in the areas that are sort of not seen as their strengths, that maybe people aren't aware that they're as strong as they are, you know, because people overlook how good of a writer Bobby is as well because of his sort of presence and demeanor, you know, and he's so just like naturally charismatic and like funny and likable, but the guy can really fucking write and rap. And then at the same time, Fate, who can clearly really write and rap, is also a really funny, quick-witted dude, and I think he has the right sort of energy to kind of like combat Bobby's presence.
I'm certainly looking forward to all of those matchups, to be honest. This card is crazy.
It's amazing. So the whole card's incredible. It really
I'm
is.
Sure all of
O'Shea and Briggsy, let's fucking go.
Crazy. I know. I'm sure all of the battlers as well are so excited to have somebody like you watching them as well at this event. I'm sure that's going to be
I love that's like one of my favorite things too. I remember the first time I went to Dublin to battle for Rap is Full. And I showed up like when the event started. I was there for the first battle and for the entire. Obviously, I know I'm going to be last battle of the day on a big, like a long card. But I was there in the venue watching every battle, just, you know, posted up. And you can tell it like makes a difference. Like so many battlers came up to me afterwards on some just like, man, like I said this line and I saw like the standard thesaurus react, like me just. You know, like shaking my head.
They're waiting for it. They're looking over, waiting for that face.
Oh, for sure. And I know that like means something. Yeah. And I love that it does. So I try to be there and be attentive. And I like being a part of the overall experience. I don't ever want people thinking that I think I'm like too big for the moment, because I don't. I love the moment. I live for it. That's what I do this shit for, you know?
That's amazing. Well, listen, if you're watching this and you want to be in the crowd with the Saurus and then watch the Saurus perform as well, Premierbattles.club is where you get your tickets.
Yes.
Now, I know you have your socials at Thesaurus Wins.
Yeah, pretty much everything for me is at Thesaurus Wins.
What's the plan for Twitter? Because I know you've had to keep coming off and going back and go. I've been plans for a new one.
I would love to. I'll probably do it eventually. I've been, as far as I know, I'm permanently banned, which means that I think they have an IP ban for me. I'm assuming it's IP because I've made, like, since my initial account got banned, however many years ago, I've probably had 5 or 6 like alias accounts, which have all eventually gotten banned. The majority of which, the only one that didn't get banned for quote attempting to evade a permanent ban. That's what they've banned the majority of them for. The only other one that didn't get banned for that was the one that where Talib Kweli reported me for bullying him because I like made fun of a situation where he was like sort of trash talking one of my friends who was supposed to be like on a show with him or something, and I just made fun of his ticket sales because it was true, because I knew what they were. And then he reported me for bullying and they banned me. But every other account, when I get the email that says the account has been suspended, it says for attempting to evade a permanent ban. So I think moving forward, if I were to make one, the best thing to do is probably to do it under a VPN so that I don't have to use my IP address. And then it's got like, I should probably not post any pictures of my likeness. I don't think my profile pic should be me. It should be something to where people know it's me, but not my actual picture, because I feel like that's like an easy thing to cross-reference and just get out of there, you know?
Yeah.
There's loopholes I feel like I could jump through though to make it happen. And I think it's been long enough to where it should happen. Especially seeing now that Disaster's back. That's pretty encouraging.
And very active.
Yeah, and I've talked to him a bunch about it, and he's like, bro, you need to just get back on. And I've told him, like, yo, they've really clamped the fuck down on me, but I'll try with a VPN and see if I have any success doing that. I mean, I would love to be back on there. I feel like it was my most fun social media platform for sure. I think there's a way, definitely. Also, like the last 3 or 4 accounts that were made for me, like other people made them because I can't have my phone number attached to an account. So other people were doing it, like, and then attaching their own number if they didn't have an account or whatever the case may be, you know? So yeah, like the last 3 accounts I had a random like Canadian, shout out to my boy Roddy, a random like Canadian homie just was like, yo, I'll create a fake email address and a fake phone number for you and make it. And it worked, you know, I would be up and running for 6 months to a year or something. And then I feel like something I say would gain enough traction to where they would do like an account audit and find out that it, you know, that it was me, unfortunately.
Well, I hope to see you on there soon.
I hope so too.
So excited to see you at Apex. I cannot wait.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone watching this is just as excited as me. Thank you so much for doing this, and
of course, thank you for having
me. And I guess I'll see you at Apex.
Absolutely, I will be looking forward to it.
Awesome. See you soon. Thank you.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.